Welcome back to the Life of a Fit Pro. I'm your Fit Pro, Andra Anderson, and we're gonna get into what makes a good class. I think about this a lot, and after almost 17 years as a fitness professional, I am pleased to say that 99% of my classes feel like a good class. And honestly, I think that just comes with time, that comes with practice, that comes with expertise. It comes with that expert level 10,000 hours of dedication. But there are definitely classes that feel standout. And I thought about it and I've sort of jotted down some ideas of why that is. Okay, the biggest piece of this is having standards. So it doesn't always work out perfectly, but there are some elements that I try to incorporate into all the classes that I teach. Some of it comes with the vibes. So I like to arrive 20 to 30 minutes before a class when possible. There are definitely times that I push it, but I like to be the first one in the room. There's something that jars me that's so weird about entering the room when other people are there waiting for you and like having to get yourself into the mindset and setting up while people are like watching you and trying to tell you about their day. Don't like that. I don't like that. For me, that will like sour my mood for like going into the class. It's just so weird when people are just there waiting for you. I had one client years and years ago that would literally come 45 minutes before class and like sit outside and wait. And that shook me. And I felt so bad because I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go prep. I'll be back out in a minute. And I wanna make it in a welcoming environment. And I've learned that my standard, in order for me to make it a welcoming environment, I wanna be the first one there. I want to arrive 20 to 30 minutes early, set the stage. For me, setting the stage, this is my standard. I have a table, and if I don't have access to a table, I'll use whatever happens to be there, a ledge, a bench, a picnic table at some locations, and I put my banner so that it has my name, my information on it, that identifies, hey, this is where the class is being held. I like to have my printed schedules available because especially if I have somebody that's like new to class or even my returning clients, they like to just take it, put the schedule in their fridge, have it in their car, an easy reference. Yes, it's available digitally. Yes, when you sign up for the class, it can get added to your calendar, but there's something about that paper that for me sets the standard for what I offer. I always have my business cards, just like this little guy over here, if you're watching, it's in a little acrylic business card holder. I have like 82 of those. I like to have that for quick reference. I also like to have, I bought a ton of pens at one point. I like to have my pens there. Sometimes I'll put out stickers, little things on the table. I like to make sure my cleaning products for, especially when we use equipment, are readily like available. You can see where they are so you make sure you wipe down your equipment. That's sort of setting the stage for me. And that has become just a standard for classes. If I have a ton of equipment and it's a small boutique class, like when I teach at Playa Bowls, for example, I like to set out the equipment and get everybody's space ready to go. I don't have more than 8 people. We really can't do more than 8 or 10 at that location. So I like to set it so that when people come in, they find their station, and I feel like that makes it more welcoming. If I am teaching at like a bigger location where I want to have a lot of people and it would be crazy for me to set up for like 30, 40 people, I will set my station up and showcase the equipment and make sure the equipment is readily available if I've tucked it away in a closet, for example, so people when they come in, they can see what they need. To me, that is like the standard, and that helps me have a good class when I have all of those things ready to go. I also like to have my music playing when people enter the room. It sets again the tone, the vibe. Those are things that I just like to have ready to go. An ideal situation is I get there early enough to get all of those things completed, and I have time to review. If it's a high fitness class, like a choreo of a song that's brand new, I try to do a new class every week. So I'll try to review that choreo, or maybe I will do like my mobility, because especially if I've been driving to get to that location, I just want to make sure I'm like loosened up and ready to go. That's ideal. That makes like the best class environment if I can get myself ready before class even starts. And again, this is just like PSA, why instructors need to be paid more, because we are doing all of that and class has not even started yet. If I'm teaching in an outdoor location and the weather is happening, I'll also try to send a quick text to the group of like, hey, wear your raincoat, or hey, we're not in the driveway, we're on the porch today, just to sort of set the expectation for people, because that's something that I think I would enjoy getting from somebody that was leading my class. And I try to take classes to sort of remind myself of what it's like to be new, because I do want to encourage new clients to come all the time. So I want to make sure that I'm not just sort of getting complacent. I'm not just sort of falling into a rut, or my setup and my rituals are still good and solid. I think that makes a good class. So having standards for pre-class like that. Also having standards for during the class. These are things that are tried and true that I feel like really make a great class. Greet every single person, look every single person in the eye. If you know their names, which go review my Secret Life of a Fit Pro post. Recently I wrote about forgetting names, because it happens and it's okay. But if you know their name, greet with the eye contact, greet with their name. How's it going? Are you ready for today? And usually the first couple of people that come into the room, I will say out loud to the first 6 or whatever people that come in, this is what we need for today. We need a block, we need a ball, whatever it is, so that they can also get their station set up. So when people come in, they can just visually look at, oh, she has this and this, let me grab those things. The best classes, I get to say hi to every single person that walks in. Now, of course, it's going to happen where somebody comes in and they're excited to tell you about something, so you get stuck in a conversation. I try really hard not to have those like clicky vibes, but there are people that have been coming to my classes for a while that I just know better, that want to tell me things, and I'm here for it. I try not to have like closed, the 4 of us are up here talking and the rest of the class is over here. So I'll try to like physically move myself closer to other people, or I'll move myself out of the conversation, just because I want those like open vibes. I don't want it to be mean girlish. I have absolutely attended classes that felt like that, where I felt like I was intruding in their private little tete-a-tete or their private little class, and I do not want those vibes at all for my classes. I try really hard not to have those vibes. But you can't be perfect, right? But that is my intention. I also, during the class, I try to do good shout outs using people's names. Sometimes I'll just get silly and say like Taylor or Brittany, like Taylor Swift, Britney Spears, but sometimes I forget there are people named Taylor and Brittany in the world, and people look at me confused, and I'm like, hey, just kidding. But I try to do shout outs. In like a small class, if I have 5 or 6 people, I try to have a moment where I'm doing a shout out of each person. It doesn't always perfectly align, but I try to give those good, like out loud compliments. If I see 1 or 2 people that are like hips low or form is kind of funky, I will make audio cues that go to everybody. Hey, everybody, remember, keep those hips up. Keep the hips up. I'll say it 15,000 times. Sometimes the person gets it, sometimes they don't. That's okay. But I try to do that. I try not to call out individuals that are doing something, that there could be some kind of, I don't want to say they're doing it wrong, but that there could be some kind of improvement. I try not to call them by name, because that's kind of weird. I only try to do the compliments out loud to everybody and use their name, because I feel like it facilitates a cool vibe in the group. But I find having those standards before and during are really helpful. I also have post-class standards where I will remind people when the next class is, or any announcements like, hey, class next week, or don't forget to grab the schedule on the way out, or if somebody is new and I know that they're new and it's their first time in my class, I'll try to give them one of my cards with a pen on it and remind them that I'm accessible. I have free classes on YouTube. Go check those out and try to check in with them and see how to go. Or even if they're not new, if it's somebody that hasn't come to class for a while, I'll try to make sure to connect with them after class to see how it felt, what they liked, how it's going, just to sort of build that connection or rebuild that connection to be inviting to come back. Because I want you to come back. I want you to come back. Those are some of my post-class standards. I always wipe down everything, clean up everything. If I'm using a shared space where I'm worried about other people using my equipment, I'll put it away. So I do have post-class rituals as well. I have not gotten into like a post-class email or text message. I've been sort of exploring that possibility because I think I really like it when I go to a class, and I know it's auto-generated and mine probably would be too, but it just sort of feels good to have this little moment afterwards like, oh, thanks. And it's a sort of a reminder of follow me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, come back for another class or something along those lines. Like I want to be really inviting and welcoming and help people realize that I want them to come back. And part of my issue is I teach at a college campus and I don't have everybody's info. So I don't require people that have like a ID access to get into the building to sign in or to sign up for the class. So I don't have their information, and that is a 100% me problem. That's something that I want to focus on for 2026. I want to get more people's information so that I can keep them in the loop, make sure they know what's going on, invite them to try other classes, invite them to try challenges, invite them in more ways than they're already part of the programming. That's a big hope for me. But what else makes a good class? I think all of those standards have really helped ensure that the class is going to be very good. Certain classes, so like high fitness, I will drink an energy drink beforehand because I just want to be like 200% effort. I don't do that for any other class. My energy is natural, just kind of fun. But imagine this energy on a Celsius. I wouldn't want to be my friend either, but I think they love it. I think it makes it a little more extra, which is super fun. What else makes a good class? Encouragement during it, eye contact during it. There are classes, like I noticed in my bar class recently, I spend a lot more time looking at people's feet for form than I do at their eyes. It almost like feels jarring when I look up and I'm like, you're looking at me. That's a funny thing as an instructor that nobody really tells you about, is that like people are looking at themselves if there's a mirror or they're looking around, but there will be moments where you really, really realize that everybody is just looking at you. And if you think too hard about it, it's like, whoa, what are you all looking at? Oh, right, you're looking for the next move. Got it. I mostly demonstrate. I mostly do classes with people, and I know that there are schools of thought on whether that is good. I don't for strength training, for boot camp. I'll do some of the pieces. I'll definitely demonstrate, but for the most part, I'm checking form. But a lot of the classes that I teach, that group element, I have a lot of people that will say like, I want to follow you. I want to follow along. So I will try my best to showcase like a middle of the road, give options, variations for higher, options, variations for cooling it down. But I do have people that have said that they want to follow me. So yeah, it's a very strange thing when you look up and everybody's just looking at you. You're like, hi, what's going on? How you doing? Especially if the form is super important and like the footwork is super important. It's just a funny like moment. I just had that feeling today. But it's funny because I mean, I've been in this profession for this long. You'd think I'd know to expect that, but it still catches me by surprise, which is kind of wild to think about. What else makes a good class? Feedback from people. Like, I want to hear, oh, that felt so good, or oh my gosh, I needed that, or hey, when I walked in I had a headache and now I don't. I feel so much better. I had a hard day. That is just, I mean, stroke the ego. I need that kind of feedback. But at the same time, like, if you're not somebody that gives feedback and I don't get that verbal feedback from people, it doesn't mean that it wasn't a good class. I don't take it personally. I sort of just read the vibes. Like, how are people feeling during it? Are they coming back to class? Those things really help me kind of figure out what's working and what's not working. And over these 17 years, I've been able to really fine tune what I do, see what works, see what doesn't work, that sort of thing. But I'm constantly learning. So any feedback that I get, physical, verbal, nonverbal, whatever it is, I'm using it to try to make the next session like even better. So if you don't tell me, I probably have no idea. I like to think I can read the room pretty well, and I have a pretty good I'm pretty intuitive, but the feedback is important too. So I'll look for that as well. Okay, so pre-class standards, all the things during class, post-class. I started doing this and I just never stopped. My boot camp classes, I do little video like snippets during the class, and then afterwards I'll make a reel and I'll tag everybody in it. And I really like that, and I've been trying to make that work for other formats. It's very hard for high fitness because it's a high cardio class. I'm super in it. I probably could sneak away moments and like film little snippets. But for the most part with that class, we film like funny reels, or we'll do little dance reels together, little TikToks. So that has become a fun community thing for that class. I will film little snippets of bar and boot camp and make reels out of those. I have not tried it yet for Pilates, and I have not tried it for high fitness, and I don't know if that would work. I'd be willing to try it and play around with it and see if it would work. I don't really do it for yoga either. The vibe of each class is just so different that I'd be curious what it would be like. So I don't really have a standard for getting content during classes or like posting content about classes, because it's different for every modality, and I kind of like it that way. But I'd be willing to try, and I'm sure people would be willing to participate. I haven't had many people say no. I don't know if I've ever had anybody say no. That's kind of cool. But you kind of attract a certain person, right? The person that comes to my class is probably okay with it. Other classes might not be. Again, I'm fun. I have a fun, chill vibe. I like music. I don't hate you if you talk in my class. There are moments though. There are moments to like work. If you're talking too much, I'm like, this ain't hard enough for you. Let's add a burpee. And then y'all shut up. And that's really fun for me. But yeah, basically I just kicked the camera. Having those standards has really helped create a good class environment. I haven't had the feeling in a long time where I felt like, oh gosh, that wasn't a good class. There are definitely times where I'm like, I could have like tried harder, but I have such high standards that it is actually a good class, but I want it to be like an epic class every time, which takes a lot. But I love it. And that's the standard that I chase for. So that's what I think makes a good class. All the pre, the during, the post work, it all adds up. And honestly, like, last parting word of this topic, your community, getting to know your people, getting to know their names, their likes, their dislikes, what challenges them, what motivates them, what keeps them coming back, what encourages them. Everybody needs something a little bit different. So knowing those things, I think, will help make the class go from good to great. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Life of a Fit Pro. I still have to get the Life of a Fit Pro. Yeah, that's how it is. Thank you. And make sure you like, subscribe, send me comments. I'm trying to post these weekly, YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And I'm trying to also do a shorter Tea Tuesday every week as well. So make sure you check those out. Don't forget to check out the Secret Life of a Fit Pro blog. It's on Tumblr that accompanies this podcast. The topics are similar, but I go a little deeper on the blog, which is super fun. So check those things out, and I'll see you next time. Bye.